So, on the point that you were saying on New Age as well, this reminded me of something I learned fairly recently. And, I came out of a lot of the New Age studies and whatnot, but I had studied Buddhism fairly seriously as well. And the I saw this video within the last couple years where the title was "What is pre-list?" And I was like, I don't know. What is that? I don't know what pre-list is. And it's a Christian channel, and it's this word that basically means a false or bad spiritual experience or a misleading spiritual experience. And they point out, and I wholeheartedly agree, I think it's almost um, undoubtable that the New Age movement doesn't have that concept. They believe all spiritual experiences are worthwhile or good. They don't have a concept that there could be a spiritual experience that would be unwholesome or misleading or unhelpful. That might be not true in absolutely every case, but in general, there's not an established skepticism towards spiritual experiences. Just let's get everybody spiritual experiences and then the world will be better. Um, and the interesting thing is Buddhism is very much on board with the idea that there are spiritual states which are not helpful or misleading or not the goal. And that's a huge part of the Buddha's journey and the teachings is that you have to reject certain spiritual states, even ones that seem amazing. And so from my studies in that, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm sort of already on board with that. And I hadn't particularly noticed prior to the that lack in the New Age movement. But then when it was pointed out, it was like, oh yeah, that is something that I got from Buddhism, but is not present in the New Age stuff. And so, and this ties back to the Buddhism issue. Like so many of the modern Western spiritual but not religious people, whatever, um, or just people rejecting Christianity and looking at Buddhism as a philosophy, essentially take Buddhist ideas and then they just plug them in their framework to support either their New Age spiritualism or Gnosticism, basically. So they view it through a Gnostic lens, and they're like, "Oh, look, Buddhism's Gnosticism. It's about escaping the world, and nothing's meaningful, and things are just a trap, and the goal is to get out of here." Or like Harari did, they say, "Oh, look, Buddhism is nihilism. He's talking about purposelessness," and it's like, yeah, but he set up a specific way of living, and he set up a community of people that function socially in different class. Like it's not that simple. It's not just he rejected the world and the world is a trap. Not to say that Buddhism is perfect or that it doesn't include things that can point in that direction, but there's a lot there that gets overlooked. And especially that idea of rejecting spiritual states based on discernment and based on saying, there's a particular thing that we're after and it needs to satisfy certain requirements. And so I think that ties right in with the issue as well in terms of how we approach karma and the issue you were talking about of people, looking at themselves as gods and looking at themselves as the creators and manifestors of whatever they want. You know, I believe wholeheartedly that they believe that. I mean, there's certainly contradictions and there's ways you can get out of it pretty easily with some humility, but there's certainly the reality that people get into that state in Jungian terms that would be called inflation, and it does carry people away. And it is a convincing spiritual state for a while. The issue is for a while because it falls apart. But um, so so having that idea of yes, we want to have an awareness of the spiritual realm, but not we can't just say anything spiritual is good and we still have to practice discernment and we still have to say where is this leading me, is this where I want to go, is this going to be satisfying, fulfilling, um, even on that spiritual level.